Today I'm going to be making a Demerara Semifreddo, which is a very, very fancy word for ice cream, and I'm hacking a very famous South African coconut biscuit. Hint, it's used in peppermint crisp. It's named after a racket sport. They played at Wimbledon. That thing. That. The first step in the Demerara Semifreddo is our homemade biscuits. These we all know and love. I eat a lot of them. They're the coconut biscuits that we use in everything from fridge tart to peppermint crisp tart to even just dunking it in rooibos tea. I wanted to hack the recipe to make my own using the Natura Sugars Demerara icing sugar. So I did some sleuthing, some intense label reading, a lot of math. My brain is broken from the math. And I think I came up with a pretty close version, and I'm going to show you how to make them. They are super easy and you'll probably never buy a pack again. We're going to start with a mixing bowl. We're going to do it all by hand, or you can do it in a mixer, whatever you like. Okay, all good recipes start with flour. So we're going to add the rest of the dry ingredients, which is coconut, a little bit of milk powder, quite a lot of baking powder, and we've got bicarb as well. That's going to give it the crunch. Some salt. Next we're going to add the Natura Sugars Demerara icing sugar. What makes this sugar so special is that it's unrefined, so it's got a really distinctive caramel taste which adds loads of flavor to the biscuits. And then next we're going to add nothing. We're gonna mix it. That's what's gonna happen. Next we're gonna add melted butter. We've got some golden syrup. And then we've got some melted coconut oil. Just gonna add to the coconutty flavor. And then we're gonna mix it all together. Lastly, we're gonna add 1 beaten egg. And we're going to mix it until it forms a nice soft dough. Okay, now we're going to roll the dough out. Little trick of mine, I do it on cling wrap, because then you don't have to add more flour, so it doesn't make your dough dry. I'm going to put a layer of cling wrap on the bottom and then one on the top. And we're going to roll it out thinly. I try and never roll over the edges. That way it stays nice and even and you don't get some thin bits and some thick bits. Okay, next we're going to cut them into squares, because obviously. Right, tea break. It's hard work making squares. And then we're going to bake them at 180 degrees for about 10 minutes until they're nice and golden brown. They've got a nice snap to them. I'm actually going to give them little fork marks as well on here, just to make sure that they rise evenly. So next we're going to make the Semifreddo mix, which is going to go around the biscuits. It's quite simple. We're going to do eggs in a bowl and we're going to cook them over a bain-marie. So I'm using 3 large eggs. So the trick to not getting egg shells in your eggs is to crack your eggs with conviction. See? Then we're going to use the Demerara icing sugar again from Natura. It's going to give it a lovely caramelly taste. And I've got some vanilla extract. And we're just going to whisk it around and then pop it over. I've got some water here. It's just barely simmering. You can see it's steaming, but it's not cooking because we don't want to make an omelette. We're wanting to make light and fluffy eggs, which are going to get folded into our whipped cream later. That's basically the only reason I go to gym. Yeah, jokes, I don't go to gym. I can do this. No, I can't. Where's the mixer? So this is ready, and I totally just did that by hand. Drop. And now I'm going to fold it into, or fold some whipped cream into the sabayon mixture that we've just made. So I've got softly whipped cream here, and then I'm going to add it into my hand beaten eggs. And then I'm going to gently fold it in so that we don't knock out any of that precious air that I've just hand whisked into the mixture. And all the flavor is from that beautiful, delicious, caramelly Natura Demerara sugar that we added. So I'm not adding anything else, but if you wanted to, you could totally add some cocoa powder or some chocolate. And now this is going to get layered with the freshly baked biscuits that we made earlier to form our semifreddo. So my biscuits are baked and I am thrilled with how they came out. What you didn't see is that I had like 5 gajillion fails to get to this recipe, but they're finally perfect. They've got a lovely snap to them. They taste coconutty, buttery, and they're going to be delicious in this semifreddo. So the next step is to get a loaf tin, and we've lined it with some baking paper so that you can lift it out easily later on. And then we're going to start with the semifreddo. Back. And then we're going to layer it. So we've got a layer of semifreddo, layer of biscuits, layer of semifreddo, biscuits, semifreddo, biscuits. How many times can I say that fast? And then it's going to go in the freezer. Okay, so I'm going to use a measuring cup to fulfill my OCD-ness, to make sure the layers are the same. This is kind of the texture of like soft serve ice cream when it's melted. Like when you've left it in the boot of your car too long.
You're making like sweet lasagna.
Yeah, it's like sweet lasagna. So my cookies are done. Whoa, it's broken. Whoa, bad idea. Let's just leave it like that.
Cool.
Oh, I totally spaced out.
I know.
Phew, I'm done. Totally did that by hand.